The course, or LCP, means Leadership, Creative Management and Psychology. We have a cohort of 150 European business students who produce in 10 weeks' time 10 short films. Why do we do this? It can be hamburgers or washing powder, but we have chosen films, not just for the creation, also for the distribution and for the selling. So when we speak about the films you might see quite shortly, these are not film students. So they are not in the film business, but they're using their creative skills in the way how we merge creativity and business to produce something which can then be shown to the public. Hence, this means also we have to look at quality issues as well. So we have people from outside, like you guys, thank you, like people like Elliot Grove, for example, I don't know if you came across with him, and Chris, who are helping us within the process. The main issue is here that we see ourselves as a business, completely self-financed. Hence, it is not just that we have to create the product, but to sell the product and to get the finances and to get the sponsors and speak about clustering where we can get material for free, etc., etc. It runs like a little production company, and for us it is actually the first time that we have, well, brilliant partners, yeah, with Raj and Pablo, who are helping us also, because these are European students, these are international students, to bring an intercultural aspect into the program. So they said to us, under the notion of Exodus, which is our theme, we have the opportunity to also compete with 2 films in the Bollywood market, if the films could be transferable to an Indian clientele. So we are novice in this area, completely. So afterwards we might ask a lot of questions, yeah. But we try, and with our lack of knowledge, yeah, we try to adapt what you guys might looking for, and hence, I mean, this comes then afterwards, that we might ask questions with reference, okay, what do you expect us to do? Also for the future. And I just would like to introduce you to my students. So this is Jürgen, and he produced the film Moments, and this is Clemens, who produced the film Way Out.
Someone who understands me.
expect, to be honest, and so in a way I'm kind of intrigued by what you see in them. I mean, for me, if you're going to translate, and this is obviously a tradition in Bollywood as well, is like take a Western movie and just redoing it in Bombay, and literally sometimes just duplicating the shots as well. Here I think it's basically two movies that have very European sensibility, I think. Things that I would pick up on that are Bollywood are melodrama and women's stories. Yes, they could translate them, but it's kind of like, what are the elements of Bollywood these days that you're looking for?
And what did you know about heightened emotion?
In the West, we seem to work from a much more of an intellectual through line. So you work from, in approaching a script, you work from thought to thought to thought. What's my thought here? What motivates me to do this? What motivates me to do that? From what the Bollywood actors that I work with seem to not worry about what you're thinking. It's much more about what you're feeling, and that's why Bollywood films are much more emotional. Actors in India and Bombay don't do an intellectual through line. What's my emotion? Am I happy? Am I sad? And they play the emotion. So there's no such thing as subtext in any of that.
So with reference to the films that we've seen today, how do you feel? Could you translate it on a...
I think the second one has more of a the premise of it is there simply because you did it in the genre of a silent film. So I could have been watching, you know, Charlie Chaplin or any of those old black and white melodramas where you've got a good piece of piano playing underneath and you had the letter being read, which would have been a caption, which you did with the letter. And why I mean, it might be a tenuous link, but certainly Bollywood, you know, a key thing to it is the music. So that you can have people like Tarantino and Scorsese have not, I don't think they're necessarily influenced by Bollywood, but they've kind of done a parallel thing that music heightens an emotion, because the music is the most emotive art form you get, more than painting, more than film, more than theatre. Music will touch you inside. You don't even have to have your eyes open. The music will make you cry without you knowing it, you know. And certainly in Bollywood, music plays such a major part.
In Bollywood, the women have too many men. He's in love with her, she's in love with her, he's in love with her. And in these films, the women didn't have any men. She's snapping the picture because he's in love with someone else. And the first one's like, she's too pretty, why does no one like her? He slams the door on her. And that would never happen in a Bollywood film.
So in a way, you know, they could take your short films and go to Bombay and shoot them tomorrow and just filter it through that sensibility, and we could show it again in 2 weeks' time, and you'd go, they become Bollywood movies, because there's this amazing capacity to just make masala movies out of whatever is there, or whatever material.
And the Western movies are far more free in the way that you can really move men, women, you know, around in any kind of circumstances you would like to have them. Whereas with reference to your market, they are sticking more to a particular picture or frame.
I think in the majority of Bollywood, they tend to work with what works.
Right.
What the majority want to see. They don't want
Right.
to see a man falling in love with a man. Or, you know, they want to see the female and with the hero and the heroine. I think they want to see that. They have tried it, I think it didn't work. I do remember one film with His name he died, and they did try where and it never worked, people didn't like it. I don't know
They
though.
often fall into stereotypes.
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
the marriage suitor, the twin brothers, you know, the angry father.
No, but that's different. That's a different subject. That's to do with classics. That's to do with what makes a classic. What makes Shakespeare a classic. What makes Jane Austen classic is that it translates all cultures. It's McDonald's, a very expensive burger, really. And it's the same with Bollywood. You find a story, it works. We'll do 20 of them after that. You know, that's why films like Dil To Pagal Hai and Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, very similar love triangle thing, very similar songs, very similar style of filmmaking. But it worked first time, so fuck it, let's do it again. You know, we'll make more money. So it's really it's catering to the audience. Hollywood is as big a culprit.
And how are documentaries? Are they welcome? For example, we have a topic immigration here in London. Yeah? Would this be a topic which could be in an Indian market?
There's a lot of new young directors
Yes.
coming up, and they've been influenced much more by Western films now.
Right.
So they're trying to deal with subject matters which are, you know, slightly offbeat, and filmmaking which is slightly offbeat, moving away from the formula. It's still in its infancy stage. It's still growing, and it's an exciting time for young Indian directors in India, Bombay, and Delhi, and places like that, because they're trying. And it's becoming quite popular. And there's some good ones. There's a lot of bad ones, but you know, as long as it's there and bubbling away, that's good. I'm not quite clear on what really you're asking, because if it's, you know, documentary films weren't really a hit in the cinema until something like When We Were Kings came out, you know, about Muhammad Ali, and when that came out, suddenly there were lots more. You know, there was Welcome to Columbine and, you know, Touching the Void, all these films that you went to the cinema to see instead of watching on television, which is great. I don't think India's caught on to that yet. But understanding the culture would probably help.
For showing these 10 short films, this was last Friday in the Kirsten Mayfair as a first technical rehearsal, where we had Raj and Pablo, and on the other hand we had Raindance, Elliot, Grove and Chris, and it was really interesting to see that they have chosen completely different films, because the Raindance thing is going on tonight. So the other lot is there to show their 2 films, which is a completely different area, which you just said you would have never chosen.
What would reach an Indian market? Is this part of the idea of?
Well, I mean, it came actually up to us in the middle of the term. Yeah, this kind of stuff, to have the opportunity to run a competition and give the students 2 different entries.
I think as far as the Indian market goes, it's changing at the moment quite a lot. And I mean, I'm going through this at the moment with my movie coming out in India in the next couple of months, and then being shown on Star TV from July. And Star TV has now almost become more powerful than the Indian cinema circuit. Distributors won't make any money back on the Indian cinema circuit. They'll make it back on selling it to Star TV. So the question is now, what kind of packages does Star TV want to buy as a pan-Asian TV distributor, if you like? And to buy are things which have elements of Asiana in them, whether that's NRIs in England or in Vancouver or whatever. Maybe they'll show those, but whether they show something which is much more European, I don't know. So maybe what I'm saying is the key to sales to India is maybe in a way connecting with the outer India experience around the world. Maybe there's that, because that is what my anticipation of the moment sells, which is why I think, you know, Pride and Prejudice will sell really well over Asia, because it knows that it's mixing those 2 East and Western things.
As a business person, you study the market that you're entering, and you sell the goods according to what's there. If it's a marketplace, then understand what will people buy.
How can you compress that into 5 minutes?
Why would you want to?
Because that's what we have
Short
to do.
Oh, right.
Well, short films should be their own little thing as well. I mean, short films are short films, features are features. And they should stand up in their own right.
When you break into song and dance, you advance the story. So the song will give you information about the story. Whereas with Bollywood films, you'll just have a song to express the emotion that you're feeling. So
Nowadays, it used to be old style Bollywood in the 40s and early 50s was that old, you know, the advance of the plot.
Yeah.
They've lost that. So nowadays it is just like you say, pop promo.
Yeah, but it also it pops up to heighten that emotion.
Yeah,
Once they're falling in love, we need a song.
Yeah.
Once they've fallen apart, you need a song. Whereas any musical in the West now, we're going to fall. You know, it gets to that stage where we're falling in love, and we're going to sing to you about falling in love to advance the story, and that's a big difference. And I don't know which one I like more really. I'm not sure if I like either, but it's just beginning to make those comparisons and study the differences. It's difficult to make something with an Indian flavour in 5 minutes. With short films, the best thing about short films is because they're short. It's taking advantage of the length of time. If you've got 3 hours to tell a story, then you tell it in 3 hours. If you've got 5 minutes to tell a story, I think it's a harder task, and it's something I admire. That I admire being able to tell a good story in that 5 minutes, because you basically, if you whittle down these 3-hour films, there's only actually 5 minutes of story anyway. You know, the skill comes in that. A lot of directors, all the directors. I remember the first short film I saw of Martin Scorsese's was the big shave, or the shave, yeah. And very simple film, and it was a protest against the Vietnam War, wasn't it?
Yeah, didn't have any conversation in that.
And all it was a guy shaving in the bathroom. And then he finishes shaving and he shaves again. And he finishes shaving and he shaves again. And he keeps shaving until he's peeled the skin off his face. And all you see is cutaway shots of, it's in black and white as well, isn't it?
No, it's not a very drained colour.
Yeah, and you see this white porcelain with drips of blood. And it's only about 3 or 4 minutes long, but very powerful film that says so much. I mean, shockingly good. For about 3 minutes you're watching this. And that was, that's a great way to tell a story, which also allows you to think and work out what's going on. What do you feel about what's being told?
But also, if you were Bollywoodizing say the girl in the bath, I mean, it's an exercise that you could run through your head. Have Preeti Zinta in the bath, right, in a towel, when she gets out of the bath, and the guy around the corner, Amitabh Bachchan or somebody, and then get somebody else to score it, and you've got a little bit of a dreamy song and dance in the middle there, and you've got a Bollywood short. Because the star system in Bollywood, as soon as you put those stars in there, it will be accepted as Bollywood, because you're then dealing with Bollywood stars. It doesn't matter what the subject matter is. You've got one dance in there, or one song, and you've got the stars. It's Bollywood.
Considering how backward the Indian culture is these days, we can't even say sexy, we can't say crap on the air because we'll just get told off big time or even taken off the air. Do you think that's the Bollywood's going the right way?
I think it's totally going the right way. It's right.
But considering how backward the Asian
culture is.
In total.
But you're talking about Asian
Without
culture in South
naming any radio
No, I'm talking
stations.
about Asian culture in India. Because let's face it, Narinder, if you, when you were 14, would your parents let you go out with the guy? Okay.
No, they wouldn't have, but I would do it
Yeah.
secretly.
But if you weren't Asian, that'd be okay. I'm talking about.
Maybe not, maybe, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying in terms of you're talking about your radio station in that region, but that's not as Asian culture as a whole.
I'm talking about the genuine Bollywood films. They're taking.
But you're saying they're getting better, they're getting touchy, they're getting more feely, they're getting more naked, they're getting more
they get better.
sexy.
But do you think that's the right way
Yeah.
to go forward to force the Asian
I think so.
community
I
out
think
of
it's
what
totally,
they're
why
what
not?
they're doing?
Yes.
In Bombay, where things are moving on so fast that they're leaving behind the old trends, and it's okay to show a bit of skin because no one's going to go, oh my god, there's a naked woman in the shower.
From the discussions I've had with Indians in India, they say, God, the Indians in Britain, they're so conservative. And that raises a whole other issue of being immigrants in a country where parents are saying, don't lose your traditions, don't lose your language, don't lose your culture, and in fact becomes a little bit more oppressive. Whereas India now has evolved, but of course it will continue to evolve. Ram Teri Ganga Meli, and I remember that was the first wet sari scene I ever saw. And that was 20 years, 15 years ago.
I've got the clip.
Before that, it was Satyam Shivam Sundaram with Zinat Aman in a sari with no bra on. My God, people were shocked. And I remember when this film Kasme Bade came out, my brother wasn't allowed to go and see it because it was a bit racy. But if you look at the films now, and I think of my parents sitting there watching films thinking, God, what must they be thinking? Because it is all flesh now. But then it's going to go in that direction whether anybody likes it or not now, because it's a huge money maker.
It's an interesting parallel to that, because my parents used to go to watch European movies in the 60s simply because people got their clothes off. They couldn't understand the language of Italian, French, or whatever. But you could go there, you could canoodle on the back row, and also they were, like you say, racy. So in a way it was just British society in the 60s catching up with German or Swedish or French society in as far as sex goes, and this is obviously beginning to happen in India as well.
Okay guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope everyone's going to stay and enjoy the party.
It's really good.
If any of you guys want to speak to Narinder, Jeremy or Nathan, I'm sure they're going to be around.
Can I just say before we go, these guys are not film students, right? But these two shorts are actually better than a lot of stuff I see from film students.
There you go guys.
So,
well done.
Brilliant guys.